boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. A back-and-forth exchange between the champions Devin Haney and Hitchins and Hitchens. Hitchins and Hitchens said, Devin Haney, I want to fight you, fuck Dalton Smith. To which Devin Haney responded, you call out everybody to fight nobody. Me, Keyshawn, Tio, Matthias, Gary Russell, Brian Norman, Jermaine Ortiz, Frank Martin. You just be clout chasing, bro. Get in the field, fuckboy.
He's not wrong. Richardson Hitchens has a lot to say about a lot of people, but how many of them does he actually fight?
Richardson Hitchens responded by saying, I called you and Tio out. Everyone else called me out. Pay attention before you speak. And I'm willing to fight anybody. And you definitely, first in line, I'll smoke you.
Ooh.
Devin responded by saying, you turned down $1.5 million to fight Keyshawn then too, but then turned around and accepted $700,000 to fight Jermaine Ortiz. You're a duck. If I'm lying, I'm dying.
We now understand, per Eddie Hearn, that where initially there was a plan to put Richardson Hitchens on the undercard of Lopez versus Stevenson, it was DAZN that went the other way. They didn't want to use him. So based on this, he actually accepted the Jermaine Ortiz fight, but it was DAZN that killed it.
They should have took the $2 million for Keyshawn.
Now, Keyshawn Davis is fighting Jermaine Ortiz, and Richardson Hitchens is arguing online with Devin Haney, saying, I don't know who told you those numbers, or that lie. You goof, funny face man. I ain't turned down shit. And the offer stopped at $2 million for Keyshawn. We wanted 2.5 to 3.
$3 million.
For that fight, but why are you saying everyone else's names? End offer for you, guy. See if I decline.
I think he meant send.
Real Devin Haney, you send me an offer and see if I decline, big dog. I would beat the fucking dog shit out of you.
Ooh.
I made around 7 figures to fight Kambosos. Why would I go backwards and fight for $700,000? Imagine a guy suing his baby's mother and the guy that beat him up. LMAO. What hood is this funny face guy from again? To which Devin Haney responded, why didn't you take the fight with Keyshawn for $2 million? Imagine turning down $2 million to fight Keyshawn when you've never made more than one. Get in the field, bum. Imagine turning down $2 million and you're broke.
I have to agree with Devin here, even if I don't like his base style.
Which is a lot like Richardson Hitchens, maybe a little better.
All of which is besides the point. If an offer was made to Richardson Hitchens for a Keyshawn Davis fight to the tune of $2 million, he should have took it because he's not actually a $2 million fighter. I don't really even think he's a $1 million fighter, to be honest with you, but if that's what Matchroom paid him after he became a champion,
so be it.
That would essentially mean that the offer to fight Keyshawn would have been 2 times his highest purse. And if he turned that down...
That was stupid.
Damn stupid, because now look at you. You ain't got no fight, nothing on the horizon, DAZN doesn't want to use you, you're not popular.
See anybody else offering you $2 million for a fight?
These guys, they get a belt and they think they've arrived already. Just by winning a belt, start asking for money they know they're not good for, trying to squeeze blood out of a grape, and in doing so, shooting themselves in the foot. That's what Richardson Hitchens did by separating from Matchroom, opting for free agency, likely in the hopes that he could work with Turkey directly, in effect, cutting Matchroom out of the picture, not realizing...
Doesn't work like that.
Turkey himself said the only way he would work with Richardson Hitchens is through Matchroom, and you don't have Matchroom behind you anymore,
So you fucked up.
And after you fucked up, they still offered you a Keyshawn Davis fight at $2 million, and you didn't take it because you wanted more.
You fucked up.
He's fucking up all over the place. That's what he's doing. I think he last fought in the summer of last year. We are now in the first quarter of this one. Richardson Hitchens has very little on the horizon, save a rumored Oscar Duarte fight on the Golden Boy side of things, and that's assuming that's still on the table. It might not be.
If it is, that's not a good fight for him.
Don't think it pays that much either, but it's not like the offers are pouring in for Richardson Hitchens, who only has the IBF title.
It's only momentarily. You know how things work in boxing. Champion today?
Yesterday's news, tomorrow.
It's the only thing of value Richardson Hitchens has, is that belt, and he doesn't seem in any hurry to unify it, which makes him even less interesting.
Think about it. How was it that Usyk achieved notoriety? How was it that Inoue did it?
Focus on those two fighters for a second. Fighters that were not otherwise well known up until they unified their divisions. That made people pay attention.
Why doesn't Hitchens do that?
Well, Hitchens, like a lot of American fighters, wants to be fast-tracked to the money. He's all about the shortcuts. He wins one belt and one fight against the former champion, and he thinks he's arrived already.
He hasn't.
I don't pity him. Matchroom basically rescued his career, pulling it out of the garbage where Mayweather Promotions left it.
In the gutter.
What he wants to do is break through. Sit at the cool kids table with Ryan and Devin and Shakur and Tio to make the kind of purses that they've been making. Not having the popularity of Ryan, the ability of Shakur, the accolades of Devin and Teofimo.
He's a geek.
Not smart enough to be a nerd, but not popular enough to be a jock, one of the cool kids. He's a geek.
Awkward.
Shot himself in the foot. He really shot himself in the foot because at least, if he would have reached an extension with Matchroom, as they were willing to, he would have still had the security of having them find fights for him, having a contract minimum as a reigning champion. He threw that all away, likely under the counsel of Keith Connolly, who also counseled Edgar Berlanga to do the same thing. And how is he holding up?
Another geek. Not smart enough to be a nerd, but too awkward to be one of the jocks.
Out in the cold, left in limbo, with not much of anything on the horizon. But it's even more ironic with Richards and Hitchens because this is an unbeaten, reigning champion.
Where have I seen this before?
Demetrius Andrade. He was an unbeaten champion for a number of years. Never really all that popular or fan-friendly. He, like Richards and Hitchens, thought he had the luxury of choice, turning fights down.
Wanting to be fast-tracked to the big names. No dice.
Hitchens is Andrade 2.0.
In men's light heavyweight news, the David Morrell versus Callum Smith fight is once again in limbo. The bout between David Morrell and Callum Smith is currently surrounded by uncertainty, despite both parties having reached an agreement months ago to contest for the WBO Interim World Championship.
The information was revealed by insider Cesar Seda, lead voice of the program Boxeo Urbano Network, who shared details of an interview held with Eddie Hearn during the Sunday program, hosted by Carlos Linares and Jorge Ebro on YouTube. The conversation took place over the weekend of January 10th in New York, as part of the parallel activities surrounding the card headlined by Subriel Matias and Dalton Smith, a fight that ended with a victory for Smith. According to Hearn, the status of the matchup between the Cuban and the Brit is uncertain at this time. Everyone is waiting on the date, you know. Originally, that fight was scheduled for March in Riyadh, but obviously we don't know. Obviously, with the AJ situation, I don't really know what will happen with that day and that date, Hearn stated. The fight had been ordered by the WBO several months ago, and after multiple extensions, the promoters involved managed to close an agreement on December 4th, according to an official statement from the sanctioning body. In that document, the WBO said, the World Boxing Organization announces that it has received written confirmation from Matchroom and TGB Warriors Boxing, indicating that the parties have reached an agreement regarding the interim WBO Light Heavyweight Championship bout between Callum Smith and David Morrell. At the appropriate time, the parties will formally announce the date, venue, and official promoter of the bout. However, the current situation has forced a rethinking of the plans, so myself and Louis DeCubas are working hard to establish where Callum versus Morrell will take place, and we need to make sure it happens as soon as possible. Callum Smith is coming off an important win in February when he defeated Joshua Buatsi by decision after an intense 12-round all-British battle, a result that allowed him to capture the interim title. Meanwhile, Morrell returned to the ring in July, defeating Imam Katayev in what was his first appearance since the competitive decision loss to David Benavidez suffered in February of last year in Vegas. For now, the future of the highly anticipated clash between Morrell and Smith remains on hold, as all parties await a suitable window to finally bring the fight to the ring.
You can see what happened there. The initial plan was to do it on Anthony Joshua's undercard, but given what Anthony just endured in that car accident, he's out of commission, and thus this fight is left in limbo, but it still has to happen because it's a mandatory, not a voluntary. Callum, if he wants to hold his position and remain interim champion, he has to fight David Morrell. They have to make this fight.
It is still Callum's intention to become a two-weight world champion, and if he were to walk away from this, he would take a few steps back, away from that goal. The silver lining is Matchroom can make this fight without any involvement from Turki El Al-Sheikh. This is your run-of-the-mill, mandated title defense.
It's not going to be for the same money that Turkey was going to put up, but those are the breaks.
Still gotta do it. You've still gotta get rid of this guy. They can do it in Liverpool, the ideal site for the fight, where I think it would sell better than it would anywhere in America. David Morrell is not a draw in America. Anywhere in America. Not saying that Callum Smith is all that big a draw in the UK, but comparatively, he's a bigger draw in the UK than David is here. So you gotta do it over there. Just as well, that would give Callum home field advantage.
I think he's going to need it.
David Morrell's training situation has changed, where before he was trained by Ronnie Shields, who I don't have a high opinion of, late last year, he hired El Profesor, Ismael Salas,
who I do have a high opinion of, and who I think gels better with a Cuban fighter like David Morrell.
May see a peskier David Morrell with a peskier version of his base style that could pose a lot of problems for Callum Smith. Thus, home field advantage is an advantage he needs. He needs every advantage he can get.
You sound worried.
But that's the silver lining, that you don't actually need Turki El Al-Sheikh to put this fight together. Matchroom can put this fight together. I don't get the sense it'll be TGB, because TGB has barely any money and barely any fight dates. They've been surviving by outsourcing their fighters.
They don't have the kind of money Callum's looking for. If this fight happens, I think it'll be a Matchroom show on the Matchroom side of things. I think David Morrell will have to travel.
That's the saving grace. Matchroom can do it. Now for the caveat, the catch-22, Callum hasn't fought in a while. It's been 11 months since the Joshua Buatsi fight.
I thought he learned his lesson. He don't do himself any favors. He could stand to be a lot more active than he is. But for one reason or another, it always works out where Callum is coming off a lengthy stint of inactivity going into a significant fight.
And this fight is significant because his interim title is on the line. He loses that title, he loses his spot in the rotation and his shot at Dimitri Bivol.
We'll see what happens.
Elsewhere in the world of boxing, more on Zuffa and what they have planned for the coming calendar of boxing. Per veteran boxing scribe Dan Raphael and his sources, Zuffa Boxing has signed former IBF heavyweight titleist Charles Martin, who will be part of the February 14th main event on Paramount Plus. Per sources, F.A. Ajagba, who has parted ways with Top Rank and signed with Zuffa, is fighting Charles on the February 14th Paramount Plus headliner.
So we're starting to get a better picture of what the Zuffa stable of fighters is going to look like, and already there are some familiar names, like Callum Walsh, former champion Rayo Valenzuela, former champion Charles Martin.
It's rumored that Sergey Boachuk, former interim champion, will also be boxing under the Zuffa banner.
Starting to get an idea of what the stable is going to look like. And there's been a lot made about the pay scale at Zuffa, whether or not these fighters are going to get jerked based on Dana White's reputation, the business model over at the UFC, the antitrust lawsuit filed against him.
But what you have to consider is that these aforementioned fighters, these familiar names, have already tried their hand at regular boxing outside of the Zuffa bubble. They've made a conscious decision, in spite of everything that's being said in the media, that Zuffa is what's right for them. So maybe the pay scale isn't that bad. Consider that Rayo Valenzuela, upon becoming a free agent, could have migrated over to Golden Boy or maybe Pro Box.
He went to Zuffa.
F.A. Ajagba, who up until recently was promoted by Top Rank, he could have went to see if Matchroom would give him some kind of a deal, get him some fights, or maybe go to Queensbury, maybe go to Pro Box.
He went to Zuffa.
So what that communicates to me is the pay scale at Zuffa. It may not be everything that you can get at a Matchroom, but it's still better than what you can get at a Pro Box.
Because not everybody can get everything you can get at a Matchroom anyway. The bottom line being that the pay scale at Zuffa can't be that bad. If Rayo went over there, Charles Martin, F.A. Ajagba went over there.
Tom Loeffler funneled his fighter, unbeaten Callum Walsh, over there. Robert Garcia, veteran trainer Robert Garcia, plans on funneling more of his fighters over there. And I don't think they would do that if the pay scale were as bad as some people are making it out to be.
So what about the fights, and what about the matchmaking? Are we supposed to be excited at Charles Martin versus F.A. Ajagba?
I believe that F.A. recently walked away from an IBF eliminator to have a rematch with Frankie Sanchez, and he would have done so in favor of this. When he had to make a decision, he felt that this would be better.
Listen, I don't really mind F.A. Ajagba versus Charles Martin as a fight, even as a main event, so long as it doesn't cost me anything extra, because I already have Paramount Plus. I don't really mind Callum Walsh versus Carlos Ocampo either as a fight, so long as it doesn't cost me anything extra, because that kind of fight shouldn't.
Those are mid-tier fights. Just the cut above club level, but not elite level, not champion level. But they could still yield some entertainment value. You also have to wonder what the contractual situation is for these fighters. What did they agree to? Are they locked in to where if you sign to Zuffa, you gotta be there for a number of fights, a number of years? What does that look like?
Say F.A. Ajagba goes in there, he beats Charles Martin. Does that then mean he's there for the foreseeable future, not at liberty to accept fights outside of Zuffa? And how many more fighters are going to sign up for this?
What does it mean for the winner of the fight? What does it also mean for the loser? Is the loser locked in as well? Does Zuffa discard them at their leisure?
How does it work?
Now, you can expect to see more familiar faces washing up on the shores of Zuffa boxing, if for no other reason than they have fight dates. They've got more than Top Rank right now. They've got more than the PBC. The story is they're going to do a minimum of at least one card every month in the calendar year, which is a more comprehensive schedule of fights than we're getting from Top Rank right now, or than we've been getting from the PBC since they went over to Amazon. Fight dates could make Zuffa an appealing destination for a good number of mid-tier fighters.
And that's what I told you their stable was going to be comprised of. B, C, D, and E level fighters that may be able to provide some entertainment value, though not enough that they can monopolize boxing. I maintain that was a gross overestimation.
Does it look like they're going to take over the sport of boxing and monopolize it with names like these? No, but they can provide your night's entertainment at a reasonable price, cheaper than what's going on at DAZN and on a bigger platform, because a Paramount Plus subscription costs less than a monthly or annual subscription to DAZN, and that's not even counting the ultimate tier, so it will be boxing for you to watch that doesn't cost much.
On a bigger platform, because Paramount Plus has more subs than DAZN.
DAZN caters to a niche audience, whereas Paramount Plus, a lot of people already have it. Not even for sports.
You might be able to reach people that wouldn't otherwise take in a boxing match, but because it's available, they might watch it. We'll see what happens.